We're back with This is Turfgrass. We're going to change gears just a little bit. Normally, we talk about turf seed, all things turf seed. We talk about the Turf Tech tool, how that analyzes variety performance. Today, we're going to change gears and talk a little bit about our Gravity branded fertilizer lineup. Got some changes coming. I wanted to update you on a few things. I'm going to be talking about our liquids and solubles today. Our granular fertilizer line called Gravity G Plus or G Plus. We got some pretty exciting things happening. We're going to be releasing those shortly on a future podcast. Just wait, and I'll bring on our my colleagues, Tyler Chandler, our proprietary lead, and Rob and Kevin, our technical specialists for fertilizers, chemicals, and we're going to bring them on and talk about the new G Plus granular fertilizer line. So today, I'm going to review in summary form our liquids and our solubles. Somebody were to say to you, hey, most turf and ornamental fertilizers are basically the same thing, so you ought to just buy the cheapest one. What would you say? Well, right off the bat, if everything is the same, and every fertilizer is the same, and every formulation is the same, and every bit of service is the same, then that would probably make sense. So the question is it really the same thing? Well, we got to start off with when it comes to fertilizers and plant nutrients, what is true? Well, it is true. A lot of companies sell 3 different forms of nutrients in fertilizer packages for turf and ornamental plants. They sell them in liquid forms, soluble forms, and granular forms. That is true. Gaseous and vaporous forms are used in agriculture. They're typically not used in turf and ornamentals, but 3 basic forms, liquid, solubles, and granulars, very common. A lot of people have them. What else is true? Well, we know there's 17 essential plant nutrients. All green plants require these 17 nutrients to thrive and survive. Some of these are free. Some of the big ones, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, those are free from the air and the water, so plants don't have to worry too much about those. In some cases, yes, but in most cases, no. Then we got macronutrients. Those are used in larger quantities by the plants. We got 2 categories of macronutrients. The NPs and Ks, that stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those are called the primary macronutrients because they're used in the largest quantities. Then the calcium, magnesiums, and sulfurs, those are the secondary macronutrients. And then finally, we've got 8 micronutrients. You can see them on the board there, and I'll talk about those when I talk about our micronutrient fertilizers. We got 8 of those, and the key is all 17 of these are essential for healthy plant growth. They have to have these to survive. So there's 17 of them. It's also true. Once the plants take these nutrients inside the plant, they could care less about the forms of the different types of fertilizers, liquid, soluble, granular. They could care less. For instance, chlorophyll, in the center of this big chlorophyll molecule, there's a magnesium atom. It doesn't matter where the magnesium comes from. The plant needs magnesium in the center of a chlorophyll molecule. And it's surrounded by nitrogen atoms. And it's surrounded by the carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. That makes up the chlorophyll molecule. And the plant could care less where these come from, just as long as they get them. But there's 2 really key things that are true about this. Of these 17 essential nutrients, they have to be available to the plant so the plant can use them. Just because they're laying in the soil doesn't mean they're available. So they've got to be available. And there's 2 key points here. One, in the right amounts, not too much, not too little. And they need to be available at the right time. Plants, all plants, turf, ornamentals, plants in greenhouses, golf courses, they go through different growth stages. And they need different nutrients at different times in those growth stages. So what is true is these nutrients have to be available at the right time in the right amount. And that's where all of the product differentiation comes in when it comes to Heritage Gravity liquids and solubles. And that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about. When you talk about these essential nutrients, the 17, and you link and couple high expectations from customers and consumers, like the players on a golf course, or the consumers who buy ornamental plants, very high expectations that are required of our plants, and stress. Plants typically are grown under stress. For instance, in the golf course business, a natural occurring bent grass may have leaves 12, 13, 14 inches long. All of that surface area is available for chlorophyll photosynthesis to make those wonderful plant sugars to keep that plant healthy. Well, how high of a height of cut do we grow bent grass on golf course greens? It can be 1/8 of an inch or sometimes even less. Look at all the surface area that's gone from that bent grass plant. We have high expectations, very little surface area for photosynthesis to occur. We've got a lot of traffic, sand-based greens, so we get good drainage. We've got a lot of stress on those grass plants. That's why nutrition on a golf green is so important. I was with one of our sales reps down in Florida, Homestead, Florida. Some of you may not know, but Homestead, Florida is the foliage capital of the United States. More foliage plants are grown down near Homestead than any place else in the U.S. Perfect, ideal conditions for it. I was in one of the greenhouse growers' greenhouses. About 200,000 Boston ferns were being grown. They were going to be shipped to the big box stores for the spring, and that grower had a very tight timeline to meet. So the plants, those Boston ferns, had very high expectations, a lot of stress. They had to hit different growth stages at certain times. So those Boston ferns were ready to be in saleable condition so those customers would pay for them. This is why nutrition is so important. Getting all of those 17 essential nutrients into the plant and making sure they're available at the right time in the right amounts. So I want to talk about the Heritage proprietary technology, what makes us different. I'm going to be talking about 2 or 3 different technologies that we use. The first one is we're calling our Heritage proprietary technology. What is it? How does it work? This is technology that is based on corn sugar. Researchers at Michigan State University figured out a way to take corn sugar, attach nutrients to it, macros and secondaries and micros, attach nutrients to those corn sugar molecules. And they are able to, they figured out a way to get those nutrients to move through those waxy leaf cuticles, down through those stomates into the internal plant structures. Even under stressful conditions like cold temperatures, hot temperatures, wet soils, dry soils. So the nutrients are now available to the plant. We're able to partner with a large agricultural company and take the scale. We were able to leverage the scale, the resources of a large agricultural company, take those resources and the technology to the turf and ornamental market and do it in a cost-effective way. So the first piece of technology is called Heritage Proprietary Technology, based on corn sugar research at Michigan State that moves nutrients across a waxy plant cuticle into the internal structures of a plant. Here's a cross-section of a leaf surface, waxy cuticle on top, spray droplets containing these nutrients that we would spray on plants without our proprietary technologies on the left-hand side, with our proprietary technologies on the right-hand side. You can see droplets beating up with the waxy cuticle on the left. We have surfactants and we got additives in our nutrients along with this proprietary technology where the droplets spread out. It reduces the surface tension across the leaf cuticle. So now the nutrients in that liquid are able to penetrate across the waxy cuticle, down the stomates, move cations, which is another name for nutrients, across the leaf surface into the plant structures. Couple points. It is important to keep these droplets wet on the leaf. That's why we have added adjuvants and surfactants that help us do that. Dry liquid that crystallizes, nutrients are unable to make it across that waxy cuticle. By the way, for some of you that are using herbicides on turfgrass, it's the same thing with herbicides. If they dry up, if a herbicide in a solution dries up on a leaf, it's difficult to get those crystals across the leaf surface. That's why they need to be moist, like our Strike 3 product. So it's called humectancy. It's keeping the droplets wet longer. Our technology is rain fast within 1 hour, and it's a way to move nutrients across the leaf surface. That, by the way, is not easy to do, but researchers at Michigan State helped us to get that technology so we could get this thing to work, even under the most stressful conditions. Some of the research, and this comes from our ag partner, Winfield Solutions, showing that nutrient uptake for all of those micronutrients I was talking about increase at a low of 6% up to a high of 52% more uptake with these micronutrients. The stuff really does work. So that's our technology called proprietary technology. I want to talk about our liquid Gravity L. The L stands for liquids to start and just kind of cover our product lineup. First one is our Gravity L HUMIC Base 001. HUMIC Base is designed to improve the uptake of micronutrients in plants. Two key active ingredients in the HUMIC Base. One is 8% humic acid, and the other is 2% KELP. I'll talk about humic acid in just a second. KELP is a seaweed extract, and it's filled with this plant hormone called cytokinin, which is really good in helping cell division, helping root development. It's a great hormone that can be used for plants when they're under stress. So these two products combined in a synergistic way help to reduce stress, especially in low CEC, low cation exchange capacity soils. That typically means sandier, heavier, or lighter textured soils. And for those who read soil test reports, if your soil test report on CEC comes in at 10 or less, we're typically dealing with a low CEC soil. It's got micronutrients added, iron, manganese, and zinc. There is 1% potassium that comes from the KELP, and that is to correct any potassium deficiencies and reduce stress. It's great to be used and typically is used with a tank mix partner. I'll be talking about other ones like our Gravity AMP. This can be used with, or our Gravity SLPGS. And it's great to use along with all the other Gravity fertilizers with our Droplex drift deposition agent. I'll have a couple slides on what Droplex is as we go along here. So that's our Gravity L humic base. Humic acid. What is humic acid? Humic acid is the end product of the biodegradation of organic matter. We all know organic matter is great for soil. It's great for growing plants. It adds microbial activity to our soils. As that organic matter breaks down, one of the end products is humic acid, like folic acid. That's one of the end products of humic acid. Humic acid, what does it do? It helps plants utilize nutrients more effectively. It helps aggregate these really small soil particles, so it increases pore space in the soils. By the way, roots don't grow through soil. They grow through the airspace in the soil. So aggregating soil particles is a great best management practice. They increase water holding capacity and the retention, which increases the retention of soluble fertilizers. So the humic acid helps keep moisture and nutrients in the root zone. It increases nutrient availability in low CE soils, and it's a really good alternative in trying to adjust soil pHs. From Soils 101 class, soils are buffered. That means they resist changes in pH. That is difficult to do. Try to use lime to lower pH, using sulfur products to raise pH. They're buffered soils. It takes time. It takes, the 3 T's, time, talent, and treasure, to get that done. This is a way to make sure these nutrients are available without having to do a lot of adjusting and costly adjusting to the soil pH. Two products we have are phosphite products. Phosphites are different than phosphates. Phosphorus fertilizers have phosphates, like our Gravity AMP. That's a nutrient. Phosphites are they're phosphoric acid based, And they're more of a plant stress disease resistance product. So they're not exactly nutrients, but they're more, the phosphites are for disease resistance and stress reduction. We have two of them, our 38 Special, Gravity L-38 Special, and one called Actifos. Our second technology that I want to talk about is called Takeoff. It's technology based on amino acids. These amino acids work as metabolic stimulants. They increase photosynthesis, nutrient efficiency, carbon dioxide performance. They produce antifungal compounds and hormones for disease resistance. Essentially, this Takeoff technology keeps plants' metabolism at a higher rate. A way to think about this is in the world of turfgrass, we have cool season turf grasses grown in the north. We have warm season turf grasses grown in the south. Back to plant physiology. The cool season grasses are called C3 grasses. They take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in chains of 3 carbons each. And that would be like your Kentucky bluegrass, your tall fescue, your fine fescue, and perennial ryegrass. The southern grasses, like Bermuda grass and zoysia grass, are called C4 grasses. They take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in 4 carbon chains. They're more efficient. That's why in the summer, the hot summer, the Bermudas and zoysias perform at their best, so much better than the cool season grasses. They can photosynthesize at higher temperatures than cool season grasses do. Cool season grasses love the spring and fall. Warm season grasses love the hot summer. What Takeoff technology does, it's like taking a C3 cool season plant, putting a turbocharger on it, and helping it perform like a C4 warm season plant. That's what Takeoff technology does, and that's in our Gravity 38 Special. So Gravity 38 Special is a phosphite, like we just talked about, an amino acid, a humectant or a humic acid component plus a surfactant. So you can take this product, spray it on turfgrass and on ornamental plants and get stress reduction. You can get those plants boosting at a higher metabolic rate, especially when it's hot, cold, wet, and dry. The analysis on 38 Special is a 5-0-15. Gravity 38 Special typically is tank mixed with other products. One of them that I've worked with that is really popular with our sales team is Civitas Turf Defense. Civitas is a mineral oil-based product. It induces plants to sense that stress is going to be coming their way, so the plants get ready for it. If you take the mineral oil in Civitas and combine it with our Gravity L-38 Special, you get a 1-2 punch of getting these these grass plants like on a golf course fairway, ready for the stress that's about to come. Plus, you get the added disease benefits of the Gravity 38 Special for diseases like anthracnose, pythium, and especially dollar spot. So 1 jug of Civitas, 3 quarts of Gravity 38 Special per acre every 2 to 4 weeks is a great program for these golf course fairways. And by the way, while I'm there, we even found there is a significant water reduction because these plants are getting themselves ready for stress. We've seen up to 25% less water usage on some of these golf courses in the South and in the Southwest where water can be very expensive. Next product is our Gravity L Actifos. This is our standard phosphite, like a lot of phosphites on the market. The analysis is 0025. And Gravity Actifos will give you those benefits of less disease and better stress resistance. It's more cost-effective than the Gravity 38 Special. Does not have the Takeoff technology, but it is a phosphite for those that are looking for a standard phosphite. In working with our sales team and our sales reps, this Gravity AMP 827.2, this is a special product. The analysis is 827.2. It is a 3% seaweed extract. That's where those cytokinin hormones are coming in at. This is boosting stress response and promotes additional plant development with amino acids and vitamins from seed extracts. It also is high in phosphorus for stimulating root growth. So great product. It's soluble, it's liquid, easily mixed with other products. One other product that is just fantastic to mix with Gravity Amp is our Gravity SL-PGS. Rob and Kevin and I did a whole podcast on our Mass Tangent platform on Gravity SL-PGS. Look for that one, and you can see all of our comments on how Gravity SL-PGS is used. It's used in turfgrass. It's used in on ornamental plants in the landscape. We even put it on our grass seed. This stuff promotes cell division, promotes establishment, promotes root hair development. So if you take Gravity SL-PGS and combine it with Gravity Amp, you get a fantastic 1-2 punch when it comes to boosting the performance of ornamental plants. One of our sales reps near Boca Raton, Florida, Chad Burkett, was one of the early pioneers of this combination of Gravity Amp and Gravity PGS. He uses it on a lot of his landscape plants down there. Here's one case where we have this Amp and PGS on the left-hand side, same plants on the right-hand side 14 days later. You can see the increased blooms, better color, leaf development, just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Here's an example of some ornamental plants treated with Gravity Amp and PGS on the left, not treated on the right. This was 4 weeks after treatment. You can see the massive roots on the left-hand side. And we didn't just cherry pick these. We saw these across all of the different replications on this trial. This stuff really works, really helps root development, especially too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry when it's stressful out. Okay, I told you I'd be talking about our Droplex drift reduction product. It's a great product. We developed this with our ag partner, Winfield Solutions, LLC. This may not be commonly known, but in order to test drift reduction products, the EPA requires drift data. How do you get drift data? You got to have a wind tunnel. There are wind tunnels that actually test spray droplets. It's an amazing thing, but they really are. And you can look at this one at the Winfield Research Center over in Wisconsin. These things cost tens of millions of dollars. At one time here, just a few years ago, there were about 5 of these in the world. Several owned by governments and like the USDA. This is one of the few in private hands. And our partner Winfield has done just a tremendous amount of testing. That's where we tested Droplex. A lot of different combinations, and we found Droplex worked the best. To get drops to move or to work at their best, they can't be too big and they can't be too small. If we found the 200 to 450 micron range was about the right range of droplet sizes. If they were 500 microns and bigger, they were too big. They would leave the spray tank, hit the leaf, and bounce off because they were too big. If they were too small, they'd be picked up by the wind, and then they would start drifting. Bad things happen when droplets drift. So that was the right size, 200 to 400 microns. And that's what Droplex does. It gives you the majority of your spray droplets in that micron range. So the story on Droplex is, in order to get these nutrients, liquid nutrients in a spray tank to work, you got to get them from the tank to the plant, on the plant. So that droplet, like in that schematic diagram I showed earlier, is on that surface of the leaf, spread out with our surfactants. And then our proprietary technology developed at Michigan State gets that droplet, the last step, into the plant. So it's from, to, on with Droplex, and in the plant with our Heritage proprietary technology. All right, next product is our 800 calcium. It has this same proprietary blend technology in it. It's got 10% water-soluble calcium. That's the key, 10% water-soluble calcium. It does correct any calcium deficiencies. I will tell you where most, or a lot of our sales reps are using this product at. Sodium buildup is a bad thing. Sodium buildup is occurring more and more as like golf courses and municipalities are using recycled water. Use recycled water, there tends to be more sodium in there. So if you irrigate with high sodium or even low sodium water, over time, sodium will build up. It'll form that little white crusty stuff on the surface of your soil. In the greenhouse, it'll show up with that white crusty stuff on your pots and your flats. I just had a water softener installed in my house, and the plumbers were asking me when they put it in, would you like soft water for the outside of your house, Mr. Jump? And I told them, you know, I've got a botanical garden, 2nd Street Botanical Gardens right outside of my house. I've got my turfgrass areas. The last thing I want is more sodium on my plants. So if any of you do-it-yourself people out there watering plants and garden plants and lawns, you might check, is your outside water faucet hooked up to a softener? If it is, you're adding unnecessary sodium. And if you are adding unnecessary sodium, our Gravity L800 calcium that's soluble is a perfect product to use, because calcium, when put and applied on soils with high sodium content, the calcium kicks the sodium off of that CEC, that's the cation exchange capacity, kicks the sodium off, leaches the sodium, and will replace it with calcium, which is a essential nutrient for plants. Our sales reps, Gary Cotton in Florida, told me this is pretty commonly done in on the Florida golf courses. We'll combine it with a product we sell called Exodius for soil flushing sodium off of soils. Gypsum calcium sulfate can be used also for doing this. We sell gypsum all the time at Heritage. The issue is that calcium and gypsum has to get into solution and become soluble. That does take time. 800 calcium is already in solution and is faster. So that's our calcium, or Gravity L800 calcium. Next one is Gravity L HUMIC Base 001. This has 8% of those wonderful humic acids we were just talking about, folic acid, and 2% KELP extract for these potassium and for those cytokinin hormones. Increases nutrient uptake of micronutrients and increased water retention. Easily blends with other nutrients, stays in suspension. Here's a good example. If you were looking at fertilizing some ornamental plants, you might take a look at our Gravity Amp with the high phosphorus levels. Tank mix this with our Gravity HUMIC Base. You'll get the benefits of both the high humic acids, high KELP, along with the high phosphorus in Gravity Amp. So they can be used in different combinations. Next is our Gravity L KELP Plus. It's a 005 analysis, 5% potassium derived from KELP. That's pretty high compared to some of the other products on the market. One of the things our customers really like, it's a very clean product, mixes well, doesn't clog up nozzles. The cytokinin is there to increase drought resistance and stress reduction. We use potassium acetate as opposed to something like potassium oxide because it's very quickly foliar absorbed, easily blends with other nutrients, and stays in suspension. And that's a good thing when you're spraying and you don't have to clean out tanks and clean out clogged nozzles. Okay, we do have a lineup of what we're calling our Gravity L standard products. Standard products, we've got 4 of them here. Different analyses. They all contain our proprietary blend technology we talked about. They are all compatible with amine herbicides like our Strike 3 herbicide. They promote green up and dark green color. They got both turf and ornamental uses. They're priced competitively. So we have a 2021 high potassium for anything like potassium deficiencies or helping build up stress resistance due to the high potassium content. A 1200 with iron and manganese. We got an 1806, 50% slow release in this one to lengthen the time that the nitrogen is going to be available. Has nitrogen from methylene urea, iron and manganese. Gravity L2800. This would be used on larger lawn care sites. 60% slow release from methylene urea. Highly concentrated, so a jug will go a long way. So those are our standard products for Gravity L. Okay, I want to shift into the micronutrients. Those are the 8 micronutrients we talked about that are essential. We've got 3 products, 1 liquid and then 2 soluble. Got a Gravity L Micro, and then we got a Gravity S Micro Surge, Gravity S Micro Guard. I want to talk about all 3 of those. One that'll come in here, you may assume micronutrients are optional component of your nutrition program, but your plants would disagree. Just because micronutrients are used in very small quantities does not mean they're not essential. 17 nutrients are essential. Plants have to have them to thrive, survive, and perform their best under stress and under high expectations. I live in Northeast Indiana. There's limestone quarries all around the Fort Wayne area. We got natural occurring limestone in our soils. When we put in streets and roads and sidewalks and driveways and build homes and foundations, we're turning over all the soil and we're bringing up all that deep subsoil, heavy clay that has high content of calcium. They call those calcareous clay soils. You could take an acid, put it on some of these soils, and you can actually see the calcium dissolve into bubbles, making carbon dioxide. There's so much calcium in our soils. Now think about this. My alma mater, got my master's in horticulture at Purdue a long, long time ago. And you go from West Lafayette south towards Vincennes, sand country, muskmelon capital of Indiana. As they're acidic sands, just almost the opposite of what we're dealing with up here in the northeast part of the state on calcareous clays. If you head down to New Mexico, our sales agronomist down there, John King, will tell you there's a lot of sodic soils. Sodic meaning salty. Sodium buildup on these soils. And then I was out in Las Vegas working with golf courses on the Gravity L 38 Special and the Civitas products. They have this weird, nasty soil-like stuff called caliche. It's kind of a calcified, hard, rocky kind of a thing. Just think about growing plants in those 4 different types of soils and trying to get micronutrients available to plants under those harsh, adverse conditions. It's almost impossible. So if you're thinking about micronutrients being optional in your program, I think we ought to be rethinking that. I think your plants would disagree. Gravity L Micro, this is our liquid. I put up the guaranteed analysis on here. It does have proprietary blend technology. A quick review. So the analysis, we got magnesium, sulfur, boron, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum, and zinc. And that's the liquid formulation for those of you that prefer a liquid. We got 2 soluble formulations. These are going to be dry, crystallized nutrient particles in a bag that we would dissolve in water. Here's what our customers are saying about our soluble products. They're very consistent, very fine. They stay in solution. And most importantly, they don't clog spray tips. They contain carboxylic acid, helps roots solubilize unavailable nutrients in the soil and make them available to the plants. And the majority of them have KELP, that seaweed extract that provides cytokinin hormones. So that's what customers are saying about our Gravity S solubles. First one is Micro Surge. This one is, these solubles are targeted for specific usage. This one is targeted for turf usage. It's got rapid foliar absorption. It's 100% soluble, goes into solution right away. It's got low use rates because the micronutrient loads in the product are high. These like iron at 10%, not all products, competitive products have that high of an iron load. So it doesn't take a whole lot of product to make up a tank of our micronutrients with Gravity S Micro Surge. The EDTA in the iron is longer greening. It protects those micronutrients from pH extremes, low or high in the soil, like I was just talking about. Finally, it comes in this really cool pail, and a lot of customers love the pail that it comes in. So Micro Surge, targeted for foliar absorption and turfgrass usage. Next one is Micro Guard. Similar micronutrient package, similar, not quite the same, But what's different about this is, you notice the word EDTA, that is a chelating agent that protects micronutrients from weird, wild pH extremes. So this one's more targeted for the soil, building up micronutrients in the soil. So they got two options, either a soil buildup method with MicroGuard or a foliar method with MicroSurge. This one's specifically formulated for root and soil absorption, more EDTA chelation for protections. These are protected from extremes in the soil chemistry. It's great for turf, and it's also great for woody trees and shrubs. So MicroGuard, if you want to build, get micronutrients building up and available in the soil. MicroSurge for foliar sprays. We have two organic products. These are relatively new. Rob, Kevin, and Tyler are working on getting these things launched out into the marketplace, but two that are fully organic, an 824 and a 1201, based on fermented amino acid technology. This is the label on the 824. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but you can see on the derived from amino acids, soft rock phosphate, potassium sulfate, and a sugar component. 1201, fermented amino acids and potassium sulfate. So two organic products in our soluble lineup. We have three high phosphorus solubles. Three high phosphorus solubles. The first one is a 10-30-20. That's in a 1:3:2 ratio. It's a general purpose starter. It has KELP and it has those EDTA protected micros. Next one is a 10-52-10. About a 1:5:1 ratio. This is for more severe phosphorus deficiencies. Phosphorus is more concentrated in the bag. It has KELP and the EDTA protected micros. Last one is a unique product, 1261-0. It is called Trophy Maker Lake and Pond Formula. This is for feeding plankton into ponds and small lakes to enable food sources for fish. So it's a very specific use and mainly for feeding plankton in small ponds and lakes. Okay, two general purpose solubles. We've got a Gravity S 2020. Turf and Ornamental, general purpose, all mineral with the KELP and the EDTA protected micros. Then we got the same formula in a slow release form, 60% slow release with the KELP and EDTA protected micros. So two 2020s, very, very popular all-purpose use, one rapid release, one slow release, depending on your needs and requirements of your plants. Another specialty product is a 26816. This is our Bentgrass Special. 39% slow release nitrogen. This has all forms of nitrogen: urea, ammoniacal, and nitrate nitrogen. All three of them for the bentgrass plants. KELP and EDTA protected micros in the package. More specialty fertilizers, a 20-10-20 Turf and Ornamental cool weather formula. So it's all mineral, quick release. KELP EDTA protected micros. This is near a 1-to-1. This product has near a 1-to-1 ratio of ammoniacal to nitrate nitrogen. On the right, a 39-9. This is Rob Garcia's Tree Health Formula. Rob developed this. He's on our proprietary team, lives out in Colorado, has really pioneered work on nutrition and trees for our team. 54% slow-release nitrogen from methylene urea, KELP and EDTA micros. We really should have Rob on either the Mass Tangent podcast, or on this platform. This is Turfgrass, and talk about what's special about this tree formula. But just keep in mind, we do have the 39-9, a great product for trees. For ornamental and grower solubles, these are for greenhouse growers. They're very specific on their requirements: a 13-2-13, 15-0, 15, 16-3, 16, 17-5, 17. All ornamental grower solubles. Let's just quickly go through these. The 13-2-13 turf and ornamental transplant formula, KELP and EDTA protected micros. 15-0-15 turf and ornamental. This is a high calcium formula. So 10.5% high calcium. For plants that are requiring more calcium, KELP and EDTA protected micros. This is an all nitrate-based nitrogen for those plants that require nitrate form of nitrogen. We got a 16-3-16, calcium magnesium formula. Ornamental plants need to keep that calcium magnesium ratio within certain boundaries. This is a 2-to-1 ratio, 4% calcium, 2% magnesium. It's got, of course, the KELP and EDTA protected micros. Then we got a second calcium magnesium formula, high calcium to magnesium. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. The top one, 16-3-16, is a 2-to-1 ratio. The bottom one is a 3-to-1 ratio to correct any deficiencies in calcium or magnesium. You have two choices, KELP EDTA protected micros. This one's excellent for high pH soils. So, if someone said to you, most turf and ornamental fertilizers are basically the same, so just buy the cheapest one. Remember these 5 things. Number 1, our Heritage proprietary blend technology gets the nutrients from the leaf surface into the leaf and through the leaf to the internal structures of the plant so those nutrients can do their job. Number 2, takeoff and humic acid formulations. Humic acid is the end product of the breakdown of organic matter, and it does all those wonderful things we talked about. The takeoff puts a turbocharger on your plants to rev their metabolism so they overcome stress. So remember takeoff and humic acid formulations. Number 3, remember most of our products have KELP and EDTA protected micros for the cytokine hormones and to keep those micronutrients available in the root zone by those root hairs so they can be taken up by the plant. Number 4, the 1-2 punch of Gravity SL PGS and Gravity AMP, just like I showed you from our sales rep Chad Burkett and all of his work in Florida. You get the benefits of a plant growth stimulant and the Gravity AMP with the high phosphorus, and you saw the results of what those 2 products can do. And finally, remember Droplex. Droplex gets these droplets of nutrition from the tank to the leaf and on the leaf, so the Heritage proprietary blend technology can drive it through the leaf into the plant structures. That's it. Thank you all. You can reach us at any of these sites here. Glad to be with you. Thank you.